even when somebody asks me like, what do you make YouTube videos out? I'm like, oh, Pokemon, and their first response is like, oh, Pokemon Go.
Right.
It's not like, oh, TCG or anime or Scarlet and Violet. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 600. I have to look at my notes. 658 episode of the Pokemon podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. We're in a studio. If you're watching on YouTube, with me is Bobby.
Hey, this is weird and different, but it's all good. We're up here, LA, for Unova Tour, so yeah, happy to be here.
And Hannah could not make it, so we got second best Hannah, Chris.
I appreciate that's a really big compliment. I appreciate that. This is awesome. What a place to record.
Yeah,
been on the show before, but this is certainly very different.
Yeah, have we recorded in person before?
No, I don't think so. No,
and I see Bobby once every like 20 years.
Yeah. My understanding is that this is one of the first times Bobby's seen sunlight in like 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So we are in LA. I found this sweet podcasting studio. And so hopefully after everything's done, it looks awesome and we can say that it was worth it. So far, I'm very impressed. But hopefully you guys like it. That's your leave a comment, I guess, if you like it. And then I will purposely fly out to LA to book it again. No, we're in Pokemon does a lot of stuff in LA. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there was a lot of Pokemon Go specific news. We're here for Unova Tour, so this is going to be a very Go heavy episode. So the game plan is that apparently Saudi Arabia wants to buy Pokemon Go for $3.5 billion. And I guess we're going to start with that. And then we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about Unova Tour. And then that'll be the show. And then if you're a patron, we'll have some bonus content after the show notes, since that's been going really well since we made that change. We'll get all of Chris's secrets out.
Yeah.
That's
what we're here for.
$5 will get you Chris's darkest secrets after
the mask credits comes off, dude. Yeah.
Perfect. I have so many little notes about this Saudi Arabia deal. So, boy, I think we explain it.
Yeah, because I've definitely got some overall thoughts. But they're more like vibe thoughts than they are rather about like details. So I'm curious to learn more, because it sounds like you've got a lot of factoids.
I do.
Helpful
because I feel like it answers a bunch of questions. So I got around the paywall for Bloomberg.
Oh,
there you
not
go.
that hard.
There
my
you go.
Gosh.
Making it big.
Wow.
So let's just go through it's not a huge article. It says Niantic, the company behind the 2016 hit Pokemon Go, is in talks to sell the video game business to Saudi Arabia, controlled Scopely Incorporated. A deal could be announced in the upcoming weeks. The price discussed is about $3.5 billion, according to one of the people working on the deal. Any agreement would involve the Pokemon title as well as their other mobile games. I have a list of their games. Well, we know Niantic's games.
Yeah.
Pikmin Bloom. You got Monster Hunter Now.
Yep.
Peridot. Ingress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing one.
I wonder if they would also push the titles that have then been retired, if they would then get the rights to some of those or not too.
Oh, like their NBA game?
The NBA game, and even some of the stuff that didn't come to fruition that were, in development.
Transformers.
I think there was another, a Marvel title or something too.
I thought there was a Marvel one as well.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
The company had trouble duplicating its runaway success and cut staff and canceled some of its titles. In 2022 and 2023, Harry Potter Wizards Unite shut down in 2022. Although we still don't know the whole detail of was that just a licensing thing?
I don't know. I know we all speculated it probably was at the time.
Where they didn't want to pay the licensing anymore?
But that was also prior to us having any idea that they were having any issues, really. Outside of obviously Pokemon being the most popular thing.
Right.
But Harry Potter seemed to be doing well.
Did it? That's what I wasn't.
People were going to events and stuff. I thought,
Yeah, I guess that's true.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. People were going to events.
Yeah.
The app seemed to be in the top grossing, not super high like Pokemon Go is, but it wasn't not in the charts where you couldn't see it.
Certainly not
right.
getting rid of it territory is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Representatives of Niantic and Scopely declined to comment. Scopely is owned by Savvy Game Groups, which is a subsidiary of Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. I have all the details of how that acquired too. Yeah. Niantic was spun off from Alphabet's Google in 2015. John Hanke still in charge.
He's the guy.
There it goes more to. I don't need to explain Pokemon Go to you guys. And then mobile game maker Scopely was acquired for $4.9 billion 2 years ago by Savvy Games. In 2024, Savvy chief executive told Bloomberg News that the company planned to add a genre-leading mobile title to its roster through Scopely, the tip of the spear for its mobile investment strategy. In August, Niantic signed a deal with Savvy to help expand Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Egypt. And Savvy is part of the Saudi Arabia Investment Fund, and with an effort to diversify its economy by investing in the video game industry.
Right. Yep.
So that's the Bloomberg article that broke. That came out of nowhere for a lot of people, especially since the Unova Tour was this week.
Yeah. Yep.
Look, I'm really milking the Saudi Arabia jokes all week.
I mean, it's kind of the thing. It's fair, you know?
Yeah.
It kind of just goes right into the jokes we were already making about some monetization changes and things like that and Go. Mm-hmm. It just seems to, it's at pace. It really is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. You want to start, Chris?
I was going to toss it to Bobby, actually. I'm dying to hear what your thoughts are on this because I've been hearing myself talk for like a week about this, man.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that's important to note is that the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund is also I want to say it's somewhere between a 6 and 8% stake owner in Nintendo.
Yeah, I have that because that's changed.
Right,
so this is off CNBC. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF, trimmed its holdings in Nintendo a day after reports with a senior executive of a mammoth sovereign wealth fund. The PIV reduced its stakehold in the Japanese video game company to 7.54% from 8.58% previously.
Oh, wow.
And that was in November of 2024. So I've seen people say 6. I've seen people say 8. I've seen people say, according to CNBC of November, Saudi Arabia owns 7.54% of Nintendo.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that public investment fund, if you look at everything that it is invested in, it's invested in so many different places. Now, this is different because they would be buying the entire, it's different to be partially invested in something versus owning the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it goes back to what we know about Scopely as well. Mm-hmm. And we know they have other games, and we know that there are other games that they've also bought have not, they've done well, but
one of them has done very well.
One of them has done very well, but they also they go wild with the pop-ups and ads and microtransactions, mm-hmm. and the way that they actually market those games is very different than I would say Pokemon Go is currently.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Mm-hmm. I think that would push Pokemon Go into that same territory, and that would not be good for the game. I think that would be, maybe overall people would continue to play and it would continue to do well. But I just think it would turn the game into something that it's not currently.
Yeah, I really agree with all of that. I think more to that, though, too, is there's this brand element, right, of Pokemon. And Pokemon is really protective of their brand.
Very.
And who they partner with and who they allow to use their name. And that's part of the magic, other companies do that, too. If you play it close to the chest, it's almost sacred in a way, what you allow and disallow, right? Mm-hmm. And so business practices like that, and I'm thinking of Monopoly Go. And I have a good friend of mine, Alex, shout out to you, man, who played, I hope this is in the past, Star Trek Fleet Command, which is
that's on the list.
It's an entire whale environment.
Mhm.
Like if you pay like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you get content like a year before everybody else. I don't have that 100% correct, but that's the idea.
You're right.
Right. And then later on, you can pay less to get that stuff. But the people, it's a competitive sort of like area control game to a degree. So if these whales are already spending, it's functionally pay to win. But I think on top of the whole pay to win fear is this feeling of cheapening the game experience, of like having pop-ups and stuff. I mean, there are ads in Go. It's not like there's not, but they're in cute little balloons.
And some Pokestops.
Yeah, and some Pokestops, but those ads on those Pokestops are just like, oh, it's like any other stop. It's not a big deal. It just has the golden arches from McDonald's and like that's it.
Or Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah, or whatever the case might be. And the balloons feel like a game mechanic that you can choose, and you can choose to either interact with them or not. Forcing that, like after I catch 5 Pokemon, I have to watch a 20-second ad. Like that is a nightmare scenario for me in my mind with the vibe of this game.
What if you watched an ad and got 10 Premier Balls for your...
Now we're talking, Steve. Now we're talking.
Oh, you mentioned Monopoly Go. You mentioned Star Trek. So here are the games that Scopely currently is working on, owns, making money from. Monopoly Go, by far.
Huge.
One of the biggest games ever. I think if you were to check your app store right now, it's like 1 or 2. Top grossing game. It is also plenty of YouTube videos out there, people saying this is one of the most predatory mobile games out there. And you'll see a lot of streamers run a Monopoly Go ad on their Twitch streams or even in their YouTube videos. Like, this is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I've never gotten that Monopoly Go ad, but depending on how much they pay, I wouldn't want to push anyone towards that anyways. But you have Monopoly Go, you have Stumble Guys, you have Star Trek Fleet Command, Marvel Strike Force.
Oh, I've played that.
Which was that's about 5 years ago that Scopely turned that game into an entire pay to win.
Oh, jeez.
WWE Champions, Scrabble Go, Walking Dead, Road to Survival, Yahtzee with Buddies, Looney Tunes, World of Mayhem, which I think again just completely paywalled.
I only play Yahtzee with enemies.
I think I
for
played,
the record.
I think I played Yahtzee with buddies back in the day.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
I didn't have any buddies when I was growing up.
I have the notes here that says like a game. Marvel Strike Force, an award-winning game.
Ooh.
Bingo Bash, just a game. Tiki Solitaire, and then Kingdom Maker.
Oh, I get ads for that all the time.
For Kingdom Maker?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
This speaks to my algorithm, dude. I don't know, man.
And Scopely launched Monopoly Go in April of 2023, so game's not even 2 years old. Monopoly Go became the biggest mobile game of 2023, generating $1 billion in revenue.
Holy cow.
Which TCG Pocket, not a year old, and already at $500 million in revenue.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just the power of the Pokemon brand. Except it doesn't always work because Rumble Rush didn't work.
It should have.
Pokemon Duel didn't work.
That was also
you could argue that
Duel
Sleep and Magikarp Jump didn't really make a lot of money. Well, Magikarp Jump didn't make a lot of money. In January of 2020, Scopely purchased Foxnet Games Los Angeles. Hey, that's where we are. That was the game for Marvel Strike Force, and that was from Cold Iron Studios from the Walt Disney Company. We don't know how much they paid for that. And then Scopely later sold Cold Iron Studios to Daybreak Game Company. So unsure how much they paid for that, but yeah, 5 years ago for Marvel Snap Force.
Oh, Strike Force.
Strike Force, sorry. Yeah.
Like, wait,
Marvel Snap, a different game.
Oh, yeah.
That was Marvel Snap is owned by the same people who own Chinese TikTok.
Yeah. No, Marvel Snap is owned by ByteDance.
Yeah. Well, ByteDance's parent company.
Oh,
because when TikTok got banned, Marvel Snap also got banned.
Right.
I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of this considered, right? I think the real conversation topic is not necessarily if Scopely is a good company or not, or if they'll do Pokemon Go justice or not. It's how do we feel about the attitude that Niantic has had towards Pokemon Go and its changes and the things that they've said to justify these changes in the past to then just sell it?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts on this. which I told my Twitch chat my thoughts earlier this week, and then I actually watched Trainer Tip's video.
Yeah.
And it was like the same exact thoughts, and I was like, oh, cool. We're on like, and I think it comes down to one, Niantic stumbled into Pokemon Go.
Yep.
I don't think anyone thought it was going to be as big as it was.
Yeah.
And that's like both good and bad. But like the game didn't even work for 2 weeks because so many people were trying to log in, and that didn't like kill the popularity. That didn't kill the demand. But I think what I think about the most is there's like two types of people at Niantic, which is probably the same type of people at any company. You have the people working on the game that I probably know or talk to or work with like two dozen different Niantic employees. And I can only think of one of them that didn't care about Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right.
And Chris, you're probably the same, but like anytime we've worked with a social media manager or where we're overseas working with somebody, or when we're at events working with somebody, or when we met developers, we met a bunch in Seattle.
Yeah.
They were all so passionate about not only Pokemon, but like making the game as good as they could.
Yes.
And I remember, I tell this story all the time. I remember running into the woman who made she was the one who revamped Mega Evolution. I remember running into her in St. Louis, and I was like, man, I love Mega Evolution. So cool that you did it. And she was like, I literally cried because people on the Sylph Road were saying so many nice things about it.
Yeah.
And she was like screenshotting the stuff on the Sylph Road. And like I said, I only met one person who didn't care about Pokemon Go the entire time working with Niantic, and they don't even work at the company anymore.
Right.
And I think you have your second set of people, and again, this is at every company, where you have your executives. And I feel like when I do talk to these people who are working on Go and they care about it, they're just like, boss says no, can't do this. We got to make these changes. Yeah, we know, we've heard you guys' feedback, but John Hankey needs another yacht. So
Right.
Yeah.
And I know, and also to obfuscate this a little bit more from our perspective, a public perspective, or even like a more internal perspective, because we get to partner in some aspects, right? That it's important to check where we think the Pokemon Company has influence into some decision making as well, because again, the brand control is really important. So like that's another, like a third variable there, a third party in the room making those decisions between those the developers and then the executives. There's also like essentially a brand parent company.
yeah.
You know, and that muddies the water quite a bit. And I hear you, what you're saying, and I think that's a very sober perspective to have, and that's kind of what we need for times like these in general, but for situations like this. But it still just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, you know, like all of the changes that were like, hey man, I know that this is going to destroy an online community when we change remote raids, or this is going to lessen accessibility in some aspects for other people, right? But we're going to do this for the good of the game and the longevity of the game, because we want this to be a forever game. And then 2 years later, this comes out, and it feels personal. It does. And so I just want to like validate people that feel that way. Like I feel that way.
No, I feel that way too. Like when I read the news, the first thing I thought was, I want to make a calendar event to start transferring my shinies every 5 days.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like when that came out, which was 4 years ago or something, it was like people were upset they couldn't transfer all their shinies at once.
Yep.
And I was also like, oh, I wish I could just transfer all my shinies. But then I do it like once a month.
I always forget.
Yeah, I always forget.
I have never transferred a shiny before.
And now
You're the best of us, Bobby.
I'm definitely under the perspective that the Pokemon Company will not let Go die.
Yeah.
Right.
They just won't. Like
Okay.
Go could lose money, and I still don't think the Pokemon Company would let Go die.
I mean, the surface area it has, the install base that it has, and just like, I mean, Pokemon is one thing, but Pokemon Go is a thing on its own for recognition for people. Like, oh yeah, there was that mobile game. Like people like, oh yeah, I love Pokemon. That's cool. Like my niece loves it or whatever, and that's great. But you try to talk to them about Scarlet and Violet, they're gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, but Go is super accessible. Everybody had it on their phone, even if they didn't play it. Like, it is very super valuable.
Yeah.
In a market, very valuable.
there's just like even when somebody asks me like what do you make YouTube videos out? I'm like, oh, Pokemon, and their first response is like, oh, Pokemon Go.
Right.
It's not like, oh, TCG or anime or Scarlet and Violet. I played that game. It runs at 3 frames a second.
You played enough, all the frames add up.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single employee that I've interacted with that didn't like what they were doing or wasn't trying to make Go as good as they could be. Except that one dude. He got let go years ago.
I mean, but even people that we've interacted with that like we might disagree with, that have like a different philosophy about what the game should or shouldn't do, it's still because they care.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when I sat next to Mr. John Hankey in Germany for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things he said was, I think Zoe 2 Dots was at that dinner, and she was like, you know, is this NDA? Can we repeat this? And one of the things he said, which I thought meant a lot, was, I want you guys to repeat what I say here because I want to be transparent and I don't want to feel like you guys can't say and he was like, you guys are the voice of us. You guys can get, which was a nice compliment. He's like, you guys can reach people that we can't reach, and you can deliver that message better than we can deliver it.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, I don't think that's like corporate talk. I think that I can talk to my community better than Niantic can.
Well, we have more trust, right? Like the community of those creators has a lot more trust in those creators than they do in Niantic.
Yeah.
Always have, I think, from the beginning. Like as beloved as the game is, people love Pokemon Go. People have different opinions about Niantic, right? So putting the trust of the voices and the creators, then you have your community and they're able to trust you, whereas it's just a different perspective if it's like coming straight from Niantic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much more relatability in watching a video of like a content creator out in the sun, dying, sweating, getting excited about a shiny that they found at a tour or a fest event that they're at. Like, you just don't get that with Niantic. So you don't get a sense that they like get it right.
Yeah. I'm not coming on the podcast to complain about John Hankey or John Hankey's the problem. Because at least in my like 9 to 5 situations, it was never like the top boss that was the problem. It was always like the one level below them. It was always like those executives that were actually the problem.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely did feel like John Hankey was listening to us. 2 takeaways from that though is, one, he definitely cared about AR a lot. He was very into AR. I think Niantic is still working on a pair of glasses. But he was like, AR is great. It's gonna blow you away. It's the future. Like,
do you know what John Hankey's position at Google was before Niantic spun out?
Oh, I used to. I don't remember that anymore.
I wonder if he had like something to do with like the AR division of Google. Because I mean, Niantic spun out of it in that way, immediately going right into AR, right? So,
yeah, I don't know. The second thing with John Hankey was not this. The probably is not eye opening. It wasn't eye opening for me, but I think it's maybe a simple example of the Pokemon Company and Niantic's relationship. One of the conversations, again, I think Zoe brought it up. She was like, is there going to be a new plus or like, how's that going to work with Pokemon Sleep? And he was like, I found out about Pokemon Sleep and the Go Plus the same time you guys did.
Oh, wow.
And you kind of just think about like, we just kind of take for granted of like, oh, the Go Plus connects to Go. And now there's like Snorlax research. Like, that is just something that if you think about it, if the CEO of Niantic just, maybe he doesn't read his emails.
I mean, maybe.
But
that would be the most relatable thing ever.
I think it is completely acceptable for the Pokemon Company to say, this is a new device. This is what we want. Add this to your game. Like, do you think Niantic set out with the vision to be the vision to create Pokemon Go and then also in the future add it to Pokemon Home? Like, I don't think that was ever their game plan. I think that was the Pokemon Company coming in saying, we want these two to link, figure it out. We'll figure it out on our end. And that's what we want.
Yeah, because I don't feel like Niantic has a whole lot of they don't have much in the way of needing things to leave Pokemon Go, right? They're not the Pokemon company, they're Niantic. They want people to stay in their game as long as possible. Transferring to home is so that you can get out of their game
Right.
and go into a different game. So yeah, I think that it was definitely put on them to be like, you're adding this in, please add this into your game. This is what's going to happen. This wasn't like Niantic being like, we should add a way for people to play our game less by having them transfer the Pokemon out of the game. Like it's
but then they made it so you can only do 5 at a time, or like if they're shinies, like every week.
Because
and then
they're
keep
like,
coming back.
we don't want people to get out of
100%.
the game that quickly.
But anyways, the point being is if the Pokemon company wants Niantic to do something, they're going to make Niantic fold.
Mm-hmm.
Easily.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, Niantic can't reveal shiny rates. There was a huge fight about eggs being revealed. Like, these are just things that the Pokemon company doesn't want in their own games.
Yeah.
So I say that because one of the things I saw frequently of the week was maybe Pokemon can stop this. Maybe Nintendo can stop this. In what reality do you think that Nintendo or Pokemon are not actively involved in these meetings?
Right.
There's no way you get to $3.8 billion on the table with Pokemon being like, hey, we just found out about this through Bloomberg.
I mean that, but also like strip away the money. It could be for any amount of money. The fact that Pokemon is on the table is more than enough. Like the name,
Yeah.
Yeah, they would
like that's more valuable to them than 3.5 billion. Well, maybe that's a lot of money, but you know what I mean. Like it's got
a lot of money.
its own thing. And also, by the way, according to Google, John Hankey, vice president of product management for Google's Geo division, he was apparently part of a acquisition by Google too. Brought into Google. Keyholes acquisition. Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, because we knew he came from a Google Map team.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
The other thing is that I saw a really good post about how when a company is ready to sell, they'll start adding more events and more microtransactions to like pump up their sales to make the final sale good.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but I do want to point out an interesting thing is if they did sell to Scopely, Capcom, DNA, whoever, that Niantic would still be making money after the deal because they would still have to use their mapping system. So for those that don't know, Niantic built out, I can't remember what it's called, Lightship or...
Yeah, Lightship, I think is right.
I think it's Lightship.
Yeah.
Where other companies can make an AR game using like a Pogo framework. This is very similar to Twitch. Twitch did this. So if you go to kick.com, where all the banned Twitch streamers go,
I would never.
it's just a green version of Twitch that Kick pays for. And then other sites can buy Twitch and then make their own version of Twitch. So this is Niantic can now make frameworks that people can pay for monthly, and Niantic's making money off that. So Niantic would make $3.8 million, I guess. And then if there's 8 games going along with that, and Scopely, if they buy it, wants to keep all 8 games, that's 8 different frameworks they're paying to Niantic.
Mm-hmm.
And Niantic's still making money. And that Niantic gets out of the gaming business, which, again, I think all the developers working on Pokemon Go like working on Pokemon Go. They like that game.
Yeah.
They like Pokemon. But if the executives are like, we're done, we just want our payout, we want to move out, we don't want to do video games, we want to do AR, we want to do mapping.
I also wonder how much of like the working with brands like Pokemon that are really strong and are very opinionated about how their brands are handled, if like Niantic feels hampered by that. Like they have an inability to focus fully on the AR stuff and then perhaps licensing out the Lightship stuff. That they're like, I'd love to get out from under the thumb of these brands, because we'd have more freedom to do whatever.
That's true.
I wonder how much of that decision is that,
I would imagine Pokemon is one of the hardest brands to work with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I can't. Oh, they don't have a Disney game though, do they? We talked about they may have had a Marvel game at some point, or they were going to maybe have.
Yeah,
a
they
Marvel
were going to. They did say that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was canceled with the Transformer stuff.
Right.
Okay, got it. I was gonna say
RIP.
a company like Disney, I feel like would be equally as hard to work with as Pokemon. They have very big companies. The companies that they are partnering with to make these games, other than Ingress and Peridot, I guess, are
Peridot's their own game. Yeah,
are giant companies that I'm sure have a lot of power. And to your point, Pokemon may be one of the hardest ones to work with, but I can't imagine that any of them have been in like an easy time for Niantic, and probably get pushed around a bit by each of them to some extent.
Yeah. I can give you guys some good news. Scopely is an American company. Their headquarters is located in Culver City, California.
Hey,
That makes anyone feel better?
that's here.
Maybe. I haven't made up my mind yet about it.
Yeah.
yeah. I did see that they were started in Los Angeles, so I thought that was cool. But yeah,
I mean, their parent company is still in Saudi Arabia, though, right? So
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, you have an office here, like great, very cool. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think they have a European office as well.
yeah.
I think one or two more things before we take a break. I have the revenue here and the blurriest screenshot ever. 2016, Pokemon Go made $500 million. 2017, $444 million. So that was their weakest year ever. Was 2017. 2018, $607 million. 2019, $653 million. 2020, COVID, $908 million. And then 2021, $909 million. 2022, COVID, air quotes over, and remote raid passes removed, $642 million. 2023, $584 million. 2024, $544 million. So down. I don't love when people bring this up of like Pokemon Go fell off because of remote raid passes, because I've looked up other mobile games. They all followed the exact same pattern as Pogo.
Yeah.
Almost every single mobile game, with a couple of exceptions, had a huge 2020 and a huge 2021, and then immediately dropped off. And it just comes down to people are not at home anymore. They're going out to baseball games. They're going out to bars. They're traveling. They don't need a mobile game to preoccupy them. I'm gonna like almost 1-to-1 if you look up a mobile game called Gardenscapes.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Gardenscapes doesn't have remote raid passes, and it had the same drop off as Pokemon Go, the same exact time, the same boom during 2020. Now that's not to say like that's not to defend Niantic. They made a lot of bad, a lot of tickets, a lot of bad choices, but I think it was natural. I don't even think remote raid passes would have kept them afloat.
But they made these changes in response to that player behavior, because they thought that, they went through and they were correct, and that people were going out to do stuff because we had been locked up for 2 years, more or less, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't make a difference.
No.
So I don't know if that necessarily justifies it as a good or a bad thing. I just, maybe it was inescapable.
I think my only point is I don't think remote raid passes has killed Pokemon Go.
No, yeah, for sure. And I mean, we have
I think the drop off would have happened no matter what.
I mean, those of us that have been playing since day one, and that's all of us, right? Yeah, like there has been an influx of new players. Like when we go to these live events, like I just see new people. I meet new people all the time. It's not the same people anymore either. They got replaced, or they brought in new people, and other people that were playing are just like disenfranchised a little bit, but are still playing, right? So it's so complicated. It is so complicated. I don't know how to make like a call.
Yeah, but I do think that to your point, Steve, like what we saw happen, what we saw happen between 2020 and 2022 wasn't even just exclusive to gaming, right? It was exclusive to like everything. Once people had places to spend their money again, once people could go outside again, spend their money in different places, they spent their money in different places. Like people got hooked on something potentially.
TCG was a good example.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great
absolutely.
example.
That was the same.
People had nothing to do, so they started buying PSA Slab TCG cards.
Ripping boxes on Twitch, man. Yeah.
Sure are. Hey, that's happening again right now, by the way.
It is.
It is happening right now. Yeah.
The one thing, let's just say Scopely takes over. Let's say any company takes over.
Okay.
the one thing that I would be worried about the most, is specifically no more live events. I think Niantic actually deeply cares about live events. I think they do them very well. Maybe, Hoenn Tour was a bad example.
There was a lot of effort in that tour, man. There was. Yeah.
That was the Vegas one?
That was the Vegas one where
The Dirt Mound one.
That was that was the gender reveals with
It's a boy.
It's a crowd under a cog, or it's a boy.
Right.
The gender reveals, yeah. I can't imagine a new company, Scopely or somebody else, going like, okay, we're gonna jack up the prices of remote raids. We're gonna paywall some more stuff, and also we're just gonna cut live events because we don't want to do that work. It's a lot of work to do a live event.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would imagine that live events would get cut, except for Japan, because from my understanding, when Niantic does an event in Japan, it is taken over by the Pokemon Company,
Oh, yeah.
and Niantic handles everywhere else.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how that shakes out, considering like the dichotomy there.
And Pokemon was already doing summer events in Japan, and
Yeah.
Pokemon Go just rolled into that, and then they just turned that into Go Fest with things around it.
That's right, because the first wasn't there was
Pikachu
a
Outbreak
bit,
is
the
what it was
Pikachu
called.
Outbreak. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
And ultimately, it just got morphed into Go Fest with some things before, some things after, and then, drone shows, Pikachu Outbreak, whatever kind of tacked on. So I guess that's my personal worry. Like, I think prices are going to go up regardless of if it was Niantic or if it was not anything else, because they got to squeeze every... It's not exclusive. Sorry, it's not exclusive to Niantic. Like, I feel like every mobile game I'm playing, or every just Fortnite, Apex, whatever, I feel like, oh, here's another way to get money out of us.
Well, we've talked about this before, but like Pokemon Go's pricing isn't that bad.
No, I think it's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
compared to other games, like when you play Pokemon Sleep, or you play, just go
Cafe
Pokemon,
Remix, Pokemon
Cafe
Sleep.
Remix, yeah. But Pokemon Sleep, like you look at what you get for your money in that game, and compared to Pokemon Go, it's way worse to pay for stuff in Pokemon Sleep. Like you just don't get as much for your money in that game.
Last thing before we take a break, Chris
Yeah.
peer pressured me into buying $100 worth of incubators this time last year,
I did.
and I finally finished using them today.
Congratulations.
I made that $100 last a year, and nowhere in Pokemon Sleep, $70 wouldn't even gotten me a month.
I'm pretty sure that box is back in the shop, by the way.
I know, I bought it today. We got another year.
Yes. He's on the hook. Ladies and gentlemen, he's on the hook.
All right, let's take a break. Speaking of another year, we will be right back, and we will talk about Unova Tour in Los Angeles, aka Pasadena. And we are back from our break. Unova Tour. Let's get some disclosures out of the way real quick. Otherwise, Papa Pikachu will be mad. Niantic paid for my ticket to Unova Tour. I paid for my own flight, my own hotel, my own Uber, my own food. Well, that's not true. I ate one banana provided by Niantic.
What a banana it was, right?
The last time I had a banana was exactly a year ago.
Have you noticed that when you eat a banana, you spend $100 in incubators?
That's
you gotta
interesting.
stop.
Interesting.
You gotta stop.
Maybe this is why I don't eat vegetables or fruits.
No, I think that's something else.
Oh, okay.
I also had my ticket provided by Niantic, which thank you very much. But I flew here on my own. I'm staying here on my own. Also Ubered here on my own.
On my own.
I did not have a banana, so I haven't dropped $100 on incubators.
That means I'm going to be more favorable here because
I think so.
the banana.
Right.
Bobby.
Nothing was paid for me.
Okay. Secret. I did get an extra ticket for Bobby, but at that point,
Yeah,
you already bought everything.
I already bought everything.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Well,
thank you.
Yeah. I could have got you into the room to get you bananas.
don't do it. It's a trap.
I know. I
$100
would have spent $100 on incubators, so I think you probably saved me.
Yeah, I just disclosure, Niantic did pay for me to go to Indonesia a couple months ago, and I actually said that was kind of the worst Go event I've been to.
Oh,
But
no.
the Go event wasn't bad. But like because Indonesia is not walkable and because Indonesia doesn't have parks, they have like shopping malls, which you would think would be nice, but nothing compared to Mall of America.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
you come from like the mall mecca, dude.
Right. So you're in a mall for like an hour and you're like, I kind of seen everything. I kind of did my laps, and it's like, well, if I want to go somewhere else, I'm in an hour. They call it Grab there, but Uber. I'm in an Uber for an hour to go somewhere else. And so like it just felt like I don't think Niantic did anything wrong. I just think it was the infrastructure of Jakarta. But as a Pokemon event, there was the DJs and there was the other stuff that was like not put on by Niantic. So I had a great time. I appreciate Niantic paid for me. But Jakarta's weird.
Yeah. You're saying like if you had to like put it like line item by line item compared to like another event,
Yeah.
it would not match up, even though it was fun. Yeah.
Yes. So like if I was to do all like Pokemon Go live events, Jakarta probably like near the bottom. But Pokemon events in general, kind of actually up there because I saw like EDM Pikachu show. And
That's pretty rad. Wait, what's the bottom of your Pokemon Go event list?
Bottom?
The first Go Fest.
And I was about to say,
I don't think the first Go Fest was that bad.
Who are you? What?
What?
You are the only person.
No,
I wasn't there, and I know how bad the first Go
No.
Fest was.
Okay. First off, they told us pretty early, leave the park and play.
Yeah.
And you know, Chris, that people refused to leave the park
I
and
know.
they continued complaining. And as soon as I left the park, it worked perfect. And
Yeah.
I will say the reason why that's not top, but maybe middle, is because I was out till 2 a.m. in Chicago and everything was working. The streets were filled.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
like
true,
you
I
just
forgot. Yeah.
you just cannot replicate that.
I will say, I think my favorite Go moment was that it was my first Lugia raid after the park had pretty much completely emptied. We were like raiding literally in the streets of Chicago, blocking traffic.
Do you
Yeah.
think we would have like city experience packages nowadays if that didn't happen? Like it was, I feel like that was an accident, and they were like, "Whoa, this actually worked really well."
That's a really good question.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
you know,
I think maybe, but I'm pretty sure that gave them an idea.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they would eventually figured out the
Yeah.
city stuff.
I mean, because people are already walking through their city playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I just feel like that was it was a disaster. That event was a disaster, the first part. But then I will say, like, after that weekend, people were like, yeah, the park part was horrible. But then we got out into the city and it was great. And everybody was like, we all had a great time out in the city playing, you know? So
Yeah.
It's hard for me to look past the worst sun poisoning I've ever had.
Was that the first Go Fest?
Yeah. Because we were all standing in that line forever to wait to get in.
Oh
And
yeah.
there was zero shade.
Well, I had a media pass back then, so
Oh my gosh, Steve.
I didn't go through Niantic though. I went through a media company. I think it was like Triple Point.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't. I didn't start working with Niantic until after the 3 Chicago ones.
Yeah.
Like all the Chicago ones, I was working with a media company that I like messaged Nintendo. Nintendo put me in there, then back there, and then I finally got I got a free $30 ticket. You know,
That is something.
Yeah.
something.
you could have had one.
I-
You could have had a banana as well.
I could have had a banana, and I didn't.
I wanna hear, Bobby. This is your first 8 years of Pokemon Go, possibly soon to be Saudi Arabia's Pokemon Go. But before then, your first in-person big event was Unova Tour.
It was. I thought it was a great event. Like, I thought that the way it was set up was done really well. Like, I didn't have any internet issues. I didn't have any, like, there was no connection issues for me. Game crashed a few times, but I kind of chalk that up to heat more than anything. Like, definitely my phone was getting hot while I was playing. So just like getting in was easy. Getting around was easy. I feel like everything was pretty, like, I don't know, you could open the app and you just kind of saw where you were going. I feel like it was easy to get from place to place, to figure out what you needed to find. And it was nice playing Pokemon with a group of people again. Because it's been quite some time since I played Pokemon with a group of people. And that was a nice experience to be able to talk to people I haven't seen in a long time, or just hang out, meet new people, and all of that was nice. So I don't have any complaints. I do have one task that would never complete.
Yeah,
on my phone.
you had one weird
It's
little
still
bug.
there.
Which one?
It's a blue.
It's transfer
gonna
10
be-
Pokemon.
It's gonna it's
Oh, it's
transfer
a
10
blue
Pokemon
stripe basculin.
for blue stripe
task?
Mhm.
basculin.
Go fish.
I'm on the go fish. That's right.
They're so cute. That was awesome.
I'm on the
Sorry.
claim reward part of the thing. If I click the claim reward button, it just disappears.
Yeah.
And then if I close the app and open it, it's just there again. I
Yeah.
cannot actually claim the reward, nor can I delete it.
Scopely would never let this happen.
That's true. That's true.
Anyways,
Monopoly Go,
that's-
I'm sure, no
yeah,
bugs at
no
all.
bugs at
I have
all.
no problem
None.
claiming basculin in Monopoly Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, like I thought it was a great event. I thought it was put on really well, and it just ran smooth, like from beginning to end. I just didn't have any issues along the way.
Do you have any feedback about park layout? Because I feel like that's a big conversation topic.
About what?
Like the park layout and like amenities and like what the walking experience was like and things like that.
Yeah, I will say that it was big. Like the area it was a large area to walk around, and it felt like there was a lot of like open areas with nothing, and then a lot of things all at one time. So like,
Yeah.
and I understand that
So-
they have to set up things in certain places, but it just did feel like there was pockets of like nothing and then a bunch of stuff in other places.
That's on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for last year, they expanded it.
Mm.
So there. I don't know if you remember the fountain in the middle. The
Oh yeah, yes.
near the
Yeah.
it was near the snow.
Yeah.
The snow
This-
biome.
Right.
The gate was before that fountain, and they moved it on the other side. So they opened up a whole nother sidewalk,
Okay.
which felt so much better.
I mean, there was 3 bridges as opposed to 2 last year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And like 3 sidewalks opposed to 2.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I still had the same complaints as I did last year, which was you're walking on a golf course. So sometimes you just, there's just a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Or this just slopes. Like it's not actually a park.
Right.
Like say what you will about Hoenn Tour in Vegas. I know there was a giant dirt mountain.
I loved it, dude.
They kicked everyone off the dirt mountain. But
Not
that
until
wa-
I climbed it, man.
That was a park. So the sidewalks
Yeah.
were big. They were sprawling. Like there weren't just random holes in the ground.
Yeah.
Mm.
There was a river unfinished, but
the cover was okay too. There was some cover there and some
Yeah.
seating throughout. Yeah.
So I do think I love when Niantic goes back to a place because they always do it better the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not New York. Go
Randall's.
Oh, maybe not Randall's Island.
Yeah.
I think it was better, but
I think if it wasn't like the surface of the sun hot, it would have felt a lot better.
yeah,
And that's not their fault. I mean, they held it in July, but like it's not their fault.
yeah. A couple things I noticed. There were twice as many cows.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, cows are cellular on wheels. They're these giant white boxes. They look like trailers, and then an antenna sticks up. And then if you're paying attention, Sprint, T-Mobile, Sprint doesn't exist.
Yeah.
T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon. And I will say last year I didn't stream. I do know other people who did stream, and I think it was fine. But just playing last year in the Rose Bowl, it was great. Service was fine. I think the first 15 minutes was the only wonky stuff, but that's like every live event, except this one. It worked instantly at 9 o'clock. I streamed this time. I didn't have my stream go down once, even in an elevator. Never went down.
Wow.
And my phone, which only runs 1 SIM card, which is AT&T, my backpack runs 2 SIM cards. My Twitch chat said my phone was crystal clear the entire time.
Wow.
And that's not the case in Japan or Korea or anywhere else I play. Like the second I walk into a building in Japan, okay, phone goes down, backpack is still up. Gotta wait till we leave the building. You know, on the subway for Korea, backpack's still up, phone goes down. Really not that big of a deal. Like everyone who watches IRL content, they understand. Like
Yeah.
you're underground, you're in a building.
Hmm.
But just like crystal clear the entire time. And I was just so many cows.
Yeah.
Like it took them 8 years to be like, hey, maybe we should double the amount of cows. Maybe that's where their budget went. Maybe that's why they couldn't afford more bananas.
Well, also maybe it has something to do with being in a stadium, because like stadiums are built like the networks I feel like are built to withstand 80,000 people in a stadium connecting to, like, they've built that out over the years so that when you're in a stadium and you have 80,000 fans all on their phone recording something like a football game or something, those networks have to stay up, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe that could have played a part in it as well.
But
I
I felt like the Niantic strategy was, well, we had 8 cows, and it worked fine last year. But I'm not exaggerating. It had to be double or triple the amount of cows. It was just so many more than last year.
Yeah.
And not a complaint, because it worked so much better.
Yeah.
And I remember in Fukuoka, I've streamed my way of, getting on the train, getting to the park, walking into the park. The event started at 9. And for the first 15 minutes, couldn't play the game, couldn't connect, nothing. It wasn't until I walked away from the center and I talked to a Niantic employee later, and they were like, how's the event? I was like, the first 15 minutes sucked. Not great. And they didn't pay for my trip to Fukuoka. That was all in my own pocket. And they were like, we know, we just had too many people connect to the... because everyone got to the entrance and then stopped because all the spawns started, and now you have this traffic jam at the entrance.
That was like a Hoenn Tour was the same thing.
Yeah, and
smaller scale, but yeah.
And they were like, once people spread out, it was fine. And that didn't happen because there was just so many cows. Also, they were letting people in a little bit early, which was nice because when the event started, people were already spread out.
And they did the thing that I remember us having a conversation about this last year. Where they did the thing where they made it so that the research required you to go all over the park, like every corner of the park, because you had to spin those stops and stuff like that. Forces people to spread out instead of just congregating under raids. I mean, sure, we all did that later, but not at first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like I didn't. So I got there about an hour after it started.
Mm-hmm.
I got in line about
10
o'clock.
Not even hardcore enough to show up early. Your first event, you're an hour late.
It took me like an hour and a half to get there because of LA traffic.
You should have been prepared.
It was early. I didn't want to wake up that early. I'm sorry. Sleep is more important. Not Pokemon sleep, but just sleep in general.
Snorlax needs his meals too.
True. But so I got there about 10 o'clock, and for one, I gotta say it was like the quickest entrance that I've at any kind of event. It was just so quick to get in. Like, they did the bag check, they did all the going through the security and everything, but they were just able. They had so many gates opened for people to go through, like so many slots to go through, that it just went really quick. But also, upon like walking in, I feel like the spawns didn't just start right away. Like, as soon as you walked in, it wasn't like all of a sudden I just saw a bunch of spawns. I did have to walk a little bit further in.
Yeah,
and
that entrance was kind of really light.
Yeah. So I wonder if that was a little bit also, it's like they didn't want people to just walk in and immediately get hit with spawn. So they took it away from there. So it was like, oh, you kind of got to get in a little bit. Then they start kind of.
Well, the stadium itself doesn't have a lot of gyms and doesn't actually have a lot of stops. Like, they do want to force you into the golf course.
Right.
Which is, I think, when I think about this event, I think like logistically from Niantic, probably like an A minus A. Like,
yes.
I can't, I didn't have it. I'm sure somebody listening had technical issues.
Honestly, the only note that I have, and it's a half of one, is that there was just like the one water station in the middle. We probably could have had 2.
Yeah.
But it's fine. That park's not that big. It's not 2019 Chicago Fest. That was like over a mile long one way.
You brought up the water station.
Yeah.
Every time I walked past the water station, no line.
Yes, because the water pressure was wonderful. And
in New York, there was 2. And the line, you were in line for 20, 30 minutes just to get water.
The heat and the water pressure there. There was like a double whammy.
But like, I refilled my water bottle 3-4 times. Never waited.
Nope.
Yep. Same.
It had a good flow.
It had a good flow. That's right. It did.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They probably should have had one more. They added more food trucks.
They did.
They added food trucks to the back.
Okay.
Food trucks in the front. The vendor hall's still open. Again, I think the Rose Bowl is one of the best places to play. Like, logistically, having a stadium with a bunch of seating. Because Randall's Island, nowhere to sit.
No.
You're spending $20 on chicken nuggets, and you're standing there and eating in no shade. There's a million places to sit. There's a million bathrooms. Stadium has bathrooms. They put porta potties. The park was spread out. Food trucks in the back, food trucks in the front. Like logistically, just a great park. On top of good service, like even in Randall's Island, under that bridge, you're just not playing. Like you got to cross between a parking lot on one side and a baseball field on the other.
Yep.
And then you're under construction with no service.
Right.
And
yeah. The construction was, I think, the hard part there. But also, I think I would bump up their grade even more, considering the context of like what the stadium was being used for as a staging area for the fires and things like that.
Yeah.
You cannot tell. I mean, I was skeptical. I was worried that, well, first of all, the event was going to be canceled or delayed or rescheduled or something. But coming here and knowing full well what just happened here and the tragedy that it was, disaster, right? You couldn't tell. You really couldn't tell. Everything has been cleaned up and straightened out, and whoever was in charge of that effort nailed it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and when you say cleaned up, I mean you mean like around the Rose Bowl and stuff. Like obviously, like the places that were hit the hardest are obviously still need to be. I just clarifying.
Yeah, they fixed all the issues. It's
clarifying. It's all gone. No.
Clarifying that before anybody comments on it.
Yeah, but I mean, knowing that the Rose Bowl was used for staging and stuff like that, I cannot imagine the state that it was in itself too. You know, it's just it is remarkable. I think they did a great job.
Yep. Absolutely.
Time to complain.
Oh boy,
I they didn't pay for my flight. I thought the event, so not the technical aspect, the what you paid for, I thought was like a little lackluster. Gen 5 is the biggest Pokedex, 156 Pokemon, and it felt smaller than both Hoenn and Sinnoh Tour.
Yeah,
and there was no roamers. Terrakion, Virizion, Cobalion missing. No Genesect, no
Keldeo.
Like
it's a sore subject.
Like it just felt like there was a little bit of stuff missing. I don't know. I don't know what you guys were talking about on GoCast prior to the lead up, but I sincerely thought because of them pushing Dynamax and Gigantamax, that Gigantamax Garbodor would make its debut.
Yeah.
It is the only Gen 5 Gigantamax. And Fukuoka had Snorlax with costume, they had Kyogre, they had Groudon, they had Palkia, they had Dialga, they had Toxtricity, they had another Toxtricity, they had it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely thought that the details were a little thin. And we were expecting something. I think that would have been a great candidate. All signs point to that would have been awesome.
It would have filled in some of the spaces on the map too.
It would have. It absolutely would have. But I mean, even still, I thought that they were going to talk about Keldeo or something, because we haven't had that except for the one paid ticket.
Yeah.
And this would have been a really great opportunity, knowing that Global's around the corner too, and this is going to be in 2 locations. Like, what's the big deal? It doesn't have to be shiny. People just want it, you know. I that was my bet, was Keldeo in some form, but no.
So yeah, I think they did do some clever stuff, like Durant and Heatmore, Sock and Throw for party play. Super clever. Like Basculin, well, there's no Roots in the Rose Bowl, but Basculin, I believe, was back on Roots.
The White Stripe.
Yeah. And then they had Deerling, Pikachu's research. Like all of that stuff was fine. The egg stuff was kind of the same.
The regionals were great in 10Ks. Yeah.
No roamers was really weird, but it just felt like you have the biggest Pokedex, and it did feel like less content than both Sinnoh and Hoenn. There was no gender reviews. I don't know if the Groudon was going to be a boy or girl. Yeah. Maybe we should explain that. So for Hoenn Tour, every hour they would light a giant flare. So red would be like, oh, it's Groudon raids for the next hour, and then blue would be Kyogre for the next hour.
Yeah.
And It was it the start of it where it was like Groudon for 3 hours in a row because it kept winning?
It was.
And then at one point they did like a green flare.
Yeah, like, what does that mean? Is this Rayquaza?
They never explained the flares. We just kind of figured it out
They
after
just
like
had
3
an extra
hours.
one, yeah. But also, I mean, more to that too. Like we say red and blue, but they were really light colors, so it looked like pink and like baby blue. Like it really matched the gender
But even
reveal.
so,
energy.
like it was very fun and clever, and it kind of was like oh, gender reveal. Like every hour, once you got it, you're like, oh well, like what's it gonna be? And there was like never anything since then. But that concept. Yeah, you could work that more.
It was fun. Yeah, you could. I have a complaint too. Now that we're talking about this is reminding me about something else I'm actually very upset about for this event. This might knock it down.
Hey, I left a banana in the room.
Yeah. I wouldn't dare. No, man. My beloved volcano. Where?
Oh, yeah.
Where's my volcano? I mean, I know they have several volcanoes, right? And
they sure do.
That first one, like the tiny one, has been changed. It was then like the misty like wood thing. It was changed into the misty like woods thing that was in New York.
Yeah.
And now this one, it was that like autumn masquerade one. They changed it to that. But where's my volcano?
There's a volcano for the gender reveal.
I know, and that's what reminded me.
Yeah.
I'm upset.
I will say I liked the displays this year.
Yeah, the flower wall.
The flower wall was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
The snow one was just the snow one was just Randall's Island.
They get it passed. That's fine.
I mean, they did it up nice. The
Yeah.
snow one was really cool, but they just took the structure and they put some snow on it. And
You know, those two employees that are in there by like the fans.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I got the good spot.
yeah, that was the good
You
spot.
know?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Big props. One of the coolest things. Okay, no more complaints. Oh, I'll have more. But I liked thematically them bringing a Ferris wheel to Unova Tour.
Yeah.
Because that's like the thing in Elisa Sound,
Yeah.
the Ferris wheel with N. My Twitch chat was like, I was so early in the day where there's no line, no one was doing it. I never again will I ever want to get on a Ferris wheel.
Wait, you actually got on it?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, dude. No.
You don't get on rides that were built like 24
It had
hours ago.
It had a Pokemon logo on it. That was enough.
Oh my god. She's like, clearly this has been vetted by Mr. Pokemon.
I'm sure they followed all the safety measures they're supposed to make sure that structure did not fall down. However, it was built like yesterday.
Yeah.
It's on wheels.
You know, you
brother.
had to scan a QR code to go on, and I'm
No.
sure. Yeah, so you couldn't just walk in even though there was no line. You had to scan a QR code. It came up with a Square payment, so you had to do your name, your email address, or your name, and then your phone number. And then I'm sure at some point you were agreeing to terms of service.
Oh,
of
yeah.
like,
Yeah, if I fall, it's not my fault.
100%.
Or their fault.
and then once you got the QR code, you could just show it. Like my appointment was 10:15, and it was only 10 o'clock, and he was like, "Well, there's no line, so just go on in." But they wouldn't allow you. You couldn't. They didn't want anything in your hands until you were actually seated down. So then you could take your phone out. You couldn't bring your backpack on, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But terrifying, absolutely like terrifying.
Do you handle heights well?
I don't. Well, I thought I was okay,
Oh.
and then I got up there, and I was like, I'm not okay.
Okay. That's to say, if you go up there knowing that, like, not
And
a big
I thought
surprise.
they were only going to do like one.
No.
Oh no, they spanned me like 3 times. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I want off.
no,
I want
please.
off this ride. I want my money back that I didn't pay for.
You're like deep breathing with your chat.
Oh.
You're like, we'll get through this, guys.
My stream backpack's on the ground, pointed up, and they can't. I can see them chatting, but they can't hear me because I'm
sure.
not there.
Yeah.
But because I'm casting my phone screen so they can see Go, I just went into the camera app so then they could see my face.
Just like, no.
Just like, no, get me off.
That's hysterical. I agree. Thematically
Thematically
cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
And then last year they had like a giant Palkia, giant Dialga, and then they had a bunch of starters. They had 2 sets of starters. They had the Sinnoh starters and the Hisui starters.
Mhm.
So the starters were scattered around the park in the balloon form. And then they even had a stage out in the golf part where like Piplup and Cyndaquil and them came out.
Yeah.
This year, no big like Reshiram, Zekrom, Kyurem, no fanfare for them, which is crazy since those were the raids. And then where they were placed was just the 3 starters in the stadium. So it was like, oh, you kind of cheaped out on inflatables, which was like, kind
It's
of
a weird line.
a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the cows.
Yeah, the cows.
The
To be
cows.
fair, I think that's if that was the trade, which I don't think so, but if that was the trade, the cows were the better investment for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to do in the arena this time.
No.
I felt like there was more last year. I mean, they did have the Pikachu come out that you can go.
Yeah, I'm
the
sure
meet and
Eevee came
greet.
out too. I didn't look at the.
Yeah, I just saw Pikachu. I was like, is that Pikachu? Whoa.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is.
I will say before so when I walked in, I didn't know where anybody was, right? You were streaming. I think you were actually on the Ferris wheel when I walked in.
I was.
Because
Yes.
I looked at the Slack chat and like there was like screenshots of you getting off the Ferris wheel. And
Holding his head.
yeah. And
Never
so
again.
I didn't know where to go, but I just saw people going into the stadium. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go into the stadium. So then I went in and I went down on the field and I was like, well, this is cool. But I was like, but that's it? Like, what's going on? Like, it's because then it was when I walked out and realized like, oh, there's the golf course and everything else happening. But it just felt like I didn't see a whole bunch of people over there first. And so I just saw a bunch of people filing into the stadium. And when I went down there, I was like, oh, maybe this is where like you pick up your shirt or something. And then I just saw everybody taking pictures of Pikachu, taking pictures with
They
the
could
starters.
They could do way more in that with that stadium, and they don't.
And that
They
was
could.
it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the thing. That
yeah.
was it. That was all that was in there. And, you know, you had to go in there to spin a couple of the stops. For
Yeah, you got to get that rufflet.
The
P-Dove
Rufflet,
too.
the P-Dove,
Yeah.
and the Landorus, I believe, was.
It was technically in the
the-
arena
yeah,
out, but
yeah.
we went through the arena for it.
But yeah, there really wasn't much there. And then also when people were saying, oh, we're going to go eat food, we can sit in the stadium. It was like, that's great. But like, there's also no shade.
Yeah.
So, but the golf course, being a golf course, had a lot of beautiful trees that had a lot of shade. And so it was nice to be able to grab food and then go sit under a tree because there was plenty of space to do that. Like
there
it
was a
just
lot of
wasn't.
shade.
There was a lot of shade in on the golf course, which was nice.
Chris, do you play those weird carnival games?
Yeah, I did one.
That was weird.
It was very strange. I didn't win, I should say, but that's the point of those carnival games.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely whipped a beanbag and almost hit the attendant.
Yeah.
He was laughing though, thank God.
For our listeners, if you ever would go to like a state fair and you get like the knock over the bottles or like they had a bunch of those games.
Skee ball one.
Yeah, skee ball. They had a bunch of those games in red and white tents.
Yeah.
And they were all free and there was no prizes. It was just you played them, and if you won, they were like, you won. And then I was with one of our people from Slack. Her name was Morgan, and she won. And she was like, I won. What did I win? And they were like, nothing.
I mean, it was free,
I
right?
was like,
I guess, but
yeah.
it
If
felt-
you think about this in the Pokemon Go thing, what do I win?
it was a cool idea.
Nothing.
It just felt like half baked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like
the
why
thing.
why would you not get the the thing that I think is actually really cool is at the tents. They've been doing this since the very first Go event. They'll have like somebody say like who has the most Snorlaxes or who has like the most Pikachu candy. And then somebody will say like I have 1,000 Pikachu candy, and then they'll get like a badge, a sticker, a button. This year they had luggage tags in Mystic, Instinct, and Valor, and they're actually kind of cool. Why couldn't the carnival games just give out like luggage tags? Why was there
Right.
like you won
Yeah.
nothing?
Or just even the wristbands that they have, like a warehouse full of, like something.
or like stickers or literally anything.
Literally anything.
Could have been a
'Cause it's all
code for
free.
something in game.
It's all
Could
yeah.
have been a code that they
like
handed you a card
like a
with-
star piece or something.
Yeah, that you got something in game.
Like
for
it felt
winning.
very half baked.
Yeah, almost like it really does feel like it wasn't even like fully set up yet. They were like,
Yeah.
we're setting this up, and then but people are here now. Okay, just take what we got. Just go with it.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
I think overall it was a good event. I don't know if I'm not gonna say like I regret coming. Like it was as expensive as last year. It so far has been as fun as last year. I just think that you took the biggest Pokedex and it didn't feel like the biggest Pokedex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to do like back in the Kanto tour when you had to catch all 150 Pokemon from the
Yeah.
Kanto Pokedex to complete that. That would have been fun to see something like that, especially because of how big the Pokedex is. I mean, there was the research to catch 156 Pokemon from Unova.
Yeah.
But that's not really the same
Yeah.
as like trying to catch each one.
I think it's just like very overwhelming for a more average player for something like that. And they've kind of put that sort of attitude and design philosophy into the masterwork research now instead.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of value in simplifying the event experience.
Have you played Monopoly Go? You just press a giant green button and the game does everything else. And that is like the #1 mobile game
That's
right
our
now.
future, man.
That I cannot wait for our Saudi
Can't
Arabia
wait to
future.
stand in a park and hit a button.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think the reason why I just love the live events is just the people and the community. And I think that's easy to say for any like person on a podcast or YouTube video to be like, that's my favorite part of Pokemon Go. Because yeah, sure. I mean, like, there's not probably a lot of solo World of Warcraft players out there. You're probably playing with 63 other players doing huge raid content. Like, that's kind of the end game of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody listening is like, I've played WoW solo for 10 years.
That's actually me right now. I'm playing hardcore classic WoW. Pray for me.
Yeah.
But I will say that as someone who did the first 4 tours as only a solo player, really, like I just did the global ones, and never like met up with a group for any of them. Like I just kind of went out on my own and like, you know, completed the tasks and played the game. And that was fun, but like it definitely just brings a whole new aspect to playing with a group of people. And it's not like I haven't played Pokemon Go with a group of people, like but I
the first time in 8 years, you're like, somebody else.
Yeah, but I haven't lately. Like I used to work at a place where the surrounding workplaces, everyone played, and so we would like on lunch we would all get together and go raid, or we would go somewhere like around the area. But lately it just hasn't been like that, especially since like 2020 and like moving jobs, working from home. So I've been playing a lot more as a solo player.
Yeah,
getting back into that, playing with a group and being able to, be excited for each other when things happen, or when someone gets the shiny, or when someone gets the the hundo or whatever. It's just different. And like you can get that out of global, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you play with a group in your town, then that's great. But yeah, just a much different experience.
So has this given you the amount of motivation you might require to go to like another event? Like,
what to get you on a plane?
Yeah,
well,
that's
flying,
really the question.
That's the thing. And the flying thing is so far beyond.
But if this event was so good, you'd be like, maybe I'll get on a plane.
Plant that seed.
No.
I'm more likely to like maybe drive further for one though.
Okay.
To New Jersey?
Not to New Jersey. I'm not driving to New Jersey.
Bobby.
I mean, New Jersey as a city is not very it's not high on people.
It's not very what?
New Jersey.
I didn't say anything
New
bad.
Jersey's a state for one, but
oh, sorry, I was
Start
thinking
with that.
Jersey City.
oh yeah,
Jersey City.
Yeah. We have limited studio time.
Yeah.
And we yapped a lot. We will continue yapping after the break, or after credits, I guess. So if you are new here, or you haven't checked out the last couple episodes, we've been doing longer podcasts for Patreon and Apple Podcasts. Although Apple Podcasts is broken right now, I promise that's because the EU passed a new law. And
Oh my gosh. Okay.
my social security doesn't match. It's a mess. It should be fixed within a week. I promise. Well, I don't know. Apple. I don't know what Tim Apple's doing over there.
Apple doesn't like to follow the EU rules either.
Yeah,
so.
no, they don't. But anyways, if you're a patron, after credits roll, you get an extra 20, 30 minutes. That's going to be for all episodes going forward. So like we said at the beginning, Chris's darkest secrets after the break.
Stay tuned.
If you're not, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know how you like the studio, because I think we'll be in this area a couple more times this year. And if you like it, and if I like it, I think I like it so far, then we'll come back. And this will be nice, because then I won't spend 2 weeks trying to look for a place. So yeah, that's our episode for you guys. Patrons, stick around. You'll get a little bit extra. But thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Chris. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
Super happy to meet Bobby in person. Effective. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my personal attitude about the game has been kind of in a downward trend. I mean, it's live events like this that really keep me coming back.
Yeah.
But you know, you and I are not opposed about our opinions on remote raids, but we have different opinions.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm definitely firmly in the camp that I thought that